Hi, this is Kevin Trainer. Welcome to part 3 of my tutorial for the forms coding assignment that's part of the Easy University tutorial project. And what I have up here is the instructions for part 3. I I think I published the instructions earlier in the week, and I've since made a slight revision in part 3. So if you downloaded these a while ago, you might want to make sure you've got the right current version. The way to tell if you do is number 5. It should say, if appropriate, and then in parentheses, not registration model class. It used to say something different. So if your version says that, then you're in the right spot. Okay, so now we're going to do the delete pages. And the delete pages are, on one hand, they're more simple than the create and the update because they don't need to display quite so much information. On the other hand, from a logic and workflow perspective, they're harder, they're more complex. And here's where you see a difference between the kind of treatment that was given to deleting in the two tutorials that we saw before this, and what I think is a more reasonable treatment. So in the Django Girls tutorial and in the Pinkham tutorial, when you say you want to delete something, it may say, are you sure you want to delete it? And if you say yes, it will delete it. And sometimes, because of the relationships and the dependencies in a relational database, in both of those applications, it's possible to destroy data that you don't intend to destroy. Okay? Because they're blogs, it's really no big deal, right? But here, because we're dealing with a sort of business record keeping application, blogs to a certain extent are entertainment, right? So losing a post or losing a comment, well, it's bad, but it's not the end of the world. Whereas in the kind of application we have for Easy University, and this applies to all kinds of enterprises, businesses, universities, government agencies, research work. We have this expectation that data simply doesn't disappear. Okay, and if it does, it's a real problem. Okay, so when we create the workflow for each of these delete pages, we're going to make sure not only that the user really intends to delete the data, but we want to make sure that from a relational database integrity point of view, deleting that data is not going to cause database integrity problems. And what you're going to see is we're going to check for all but one of the model classes, the registration. The registration doesn't serve as the target of any foreign keys. And so if you want to delete a registration, well, that's fine. If you did it accidentally, it's going to be a hardship in terms of the business, but it's not going to leave the database in some kind of imperfect state. Whereas all the other model classes that we have, all the other tables that we have, serve as the target of a relationship. They serve as a target of a foreign key. And so we can't delete them so long as any rows are pointing at them from the table with which they have a relationship. And so we're going to check that. And that's not something that you saw in the Django Girls, and that's not something you saw in the Pinkham. But this is really basic stuff for any kind of production quality database application. Okay. So let's take a look at what we're going to do. As we've done in the other parts, we're going to do the instructor and the section together. As in the other parts, we have a checklist or a recipe that we're going to follow. And then as in the other parts, I'm going to leave you to do the last 4 of the model classes, the course, the semester, the student, and the registration on your own based upon the work that we did together on instructor and section. Okay, so here's the first thing that we do. We create the URL pattern for this page. Okay, so let's go do that. I'm going to pull this guy off for now, put him on another monitor. Okay, and let's go to the URLs. And we want to do instructor delete. Okay, and I have a pretty big version, but it's pretty easy to clone an instructor update into an instructor delete. So let's do that, because that's what you're going to be doing, because you don't have a pre-baked version like I do. Okay, so we copy over the update, and then of course we change the text in the URL to say delete, and then the class-based view is going to be instructor delete, and then the name of the URL pattern is going to be instructor delete. Okay. That's good. And then we need to add an instructor delete to the imports. So let's go find some instructor stuff. Yeah, right after instructor update, let's add instructor delete. Okay. And of course, we don't have the class-based view yet, but we're going to get right to it. All right. Where is the next place we're going? Well, we're going to go to number 2 on our checklist. Add the get delete URL method to the model class in models.py. Okay, we're going to do that. So let's go to models, open it up. And in this case, I think I am going to, we're on the instructor. I think I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to make the code a little bit bigger so we can see it. Maybe that's a little too big. Okay. And then I'm going to go and take the code out of my pre-baked version. So we go to models, and let's see, let me find my instructor. And here's my instructor, and I've got a get delete URL. It's not too different from the get update URL. So let's paste it in. So get update URL, and we'll put it right below that. Here's our get delete URL. And let's see, we only wanted to have one blank line. Okay, so we have course info instructor delete URL pattern. So that's slightly different from what's in the update. that has the update URL pattern. And then the coargs is just PK and self PK. That's the same. So it's going to be pretty easy for you who are not going to have a pre-baked version to clone the get update URL into a get delete URL. Okay, so that's done. All right, what's next on the checklist? We want to add the instructor delete class-based view to views.py. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Instructor delete. So I'm going to go to views.py, and let's see, my views, I have the instructor views first. They're organized the same as my links in my navigation bar. Instructor is the first link in the navigation bar. And we see here we have instructor updates. So instructor delete's going to go right after that. Get a couple of blank lines. And then I'm going to get my pre-baked version, okay, and bring that over. And I'm going to copy it. And there's quite a bit of code in a delete, okay, because of what I have already said, that we need to check to make sure that we're not leaving any database integrity problems. Okay, does that make sense? Let's hope it does. Okay. Now we're pasting it in. Okay, so here's what we've got. Like the update, we implement both the get and the post. Okay, like the update. Okay, instead of writing the code out in both the get and the post to retrieve the instance of the instructor, we refactored the code, and now we have a get object that's called on the first line of both the get, well, that's the post, and the get. And now I'm seeing this type's a little small. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Okay. All right, so we're going to do that. So now, why do we do get and post? Well, what's going to happen is that, well, let's take the good case. This is the case where a delete is appropriate. Okay, it's not going to create any database integrity problems. Okay, well, when we click on the delete, what we're going to want to get is we're going to want to get a page that's a delete confirmation page. So that's going to say, okay, you've asked to delete this instructor. Are you sure you want to do it? Now, in interaction design, there's a principle that says that this is a bad idea. Okay, this says that if somebody asks you to do something in the user interface, well, then you just better do it. Okay. Well, the problem is that deleting is pretty destructive. In applications where they have easy undo, okay, they've really taken to the point where they just delete things. If you say you want to delete them, they don't come back and say, well, do you really want to delete it? Like you're an idiot, okay? Instead, what they do is that if you say delete it, they delete it, but then they have some kind of undo link, undo hotkey, something like that. So in our application, we don't have an easy undo. If we, in fact, delete the data out of the database, it's gone. It would be nice to have that kind of capability in the framework, but it's not built in. So we're going to do the more traditional approach on the interaction design, and we're going to ask people to confirm the delete. Okay. So, or if in fact a delete isn't appropriate, we're going to send back a refuse delete page. Okay, so this is going to say, well, you can't delete this because other data is depending on it. Okay, so the get part, this is when, again, here's the get part. The get part is when we click on the delete link, and it's going to send back either a confirmation page or a refusal page. Okay? Then, if it sent back a confirmation page, and we click on yes, okay, delete it, that's going to be handled by the post. How's that going to happen? Well, on the confirm delete page, there's a form and a submit button. And when you click on the submit button, which I think says delete, well, it gets routed to post because it's a form. And again, the third method here, the get object, it's just been factored out of the get and the post so that we don't have redundant code. Okay, so let's look at the get and how that works. So the decision here is it okay to delete this if the user wants it? And because it's an instructor, it may be related to one or more sections the instructor is assigned to teach. If that's true, okay, then we're going to want, we're not going to want to delete the instructor. Instead, we're going to want the user to have to go to the section and change the instructor first, okay? And then come back here and say, now I want to delete the instructor. And of course, the instructor isn't teaching any more sections, and so we're going to return a confirm page. So here's what we do. We have a query set that has all the sections in it that are related to this instructor, that this instructor is assigned to teach. And we put this query set in the variable sections. And if the count is greater than 0, that means the instructor is assigned to teach at least one section, in which case we want to put out a refusal page. It's called instructor refuse delete is the name of the template. Okay. The other thing that we want to do is when we create the context that's going to be used to render the refuse page, of course we're going to want to pass in the instructor, and we're going to want to pass in the query set that has the sections in it, so we can tell them, here's a list of the sections that this instructor is associated with. Go investigate them to see why you currently can't delete this instructor. Okay, if on the other hand, we really do have an instructor who's not connected to the sections table, well then all we want to do is we want to confirm that they really mean to delete this instructor and didn't accidentally click on the wrong one. Because again, we don't have undo functionality. Okay, in which case this the page that we're sending back is the instructor confirm delete page, and the information that it needs in the context is just a copy of the instructor object. Okay, so does that make sense? Now, On the post side, by the time we get here, we know it's okay to delete in terms of database integrity because we sent back a confirm page. We know that the user has clicked the confirmation and said, yeah, they want to delete. So all we need to do is to make the delete happen. So we retrieve the instructor object again, so we have addressability to it. We call a delete on it, and then we redirect, in this case, to the instructor list because we can't go back to the detail page for an instructor that we just deleted. So the sensible place is to go to the list page. And that allows the user to confirm, oh, that instructor isn't on the list anymore. Okay, does that make sense? I hope it does. All right, so there's a lot of code here, right? This is more complex than the code for delete that's used in either the Pinkham book or in the Django Girls tutorial. But as I said earlier, this is the kind of thoughtful approach to deleting data that real data managers want to be taking. Okay, those approaches that we saw in the Pinkham book and in the Django Girls tutorials were kind of cavalier. They weren't significantly thoughtful, and that probably has to do with the fact that they're just blogs. And if we accidentally get rid of the wrong stuff in a blog, who really cares? But with this stuff, we're definitely going to care. All right. Enough for that. So that's our class-based view. Okay. That was number 3. Number 4, create the confirm delete HTML file for instructor. So it's going to be called instructor confirm delete.html. Okay, let's do that. Now, I'm just going to pause because I'm going to go find that file and copy it. So you don't have to watch me type. I'll be right back. Okay, I found my way to the template file. So the templates for course info go right here. And I'm just going to paste it. And it's called instructor confirm delete.html. So we're going to bring that in. And let's take a look at this. Okay. So this is, again, this is going down the good case, the happy days scenario, the happy path. This is where the user has asked to delete an instructor who does not have any connections to sections. And so all we want to make sure is that they really, really want to delete because it's such a destructive action. Okay, so the title is delete instructor. It's a standard HTML form. The submit button says delete instructor. Okay. The method is equal to post. Okay. How do we know what URL this is going to trigger? Well, we're going to call get delete URL on the instructor object. Okay, and we'll get the URL for the delete. Okay, and then of course we've got this CSRF token to resist hacking. And then we're just going to say, are you sure that you want to delete instructor? And then we give the instructor name. And if they click on the button for delete, then we're going to go to the post. A request is going to go in. That's going to be a post. We have a cancel link. Okay, so where do you go if you say you want to delete an instructor and then you change your mind and cancel? Well, you want to go back to the detail page for the instructor. So that's why we have the URL that we are asking for is the what comes back from get absolute URL as part of the instructor object. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, that's that. Now we're getting down towards the end of the checklist. Okay, number 5 is going to be appropriate for everything but registration. Okay, every other model class or table has got some relationship that points into it. There's another table that has a foreign key. So student points to student, I'm sorry, student is oh, I'm sorry. You don't want to get rid of a student that's part of a registration. You don't want to get rid of a semester that is related to a section. You don't want to get rid of a course that's related to a section. Okay? You don't want to get rid of a section that is related to a registration or an instructor. Okay? You don't want to get rid of an instructor that's related to a section. The only thing that doesn't have things pointing to it, and in terms of foreign keys in other tables that implement a relationship, is registration. So that's the only thing where we don't have to check. So the very last one that you do, when you come down to number 5, it says, if appropriate. The only time it's not going to be appropriate is the very last one. That is not going to have a refusal, okay? Because there's no way that it can be problematic in terms of the database relational integrity. Okay? So for all the other ones, we are going to want to have a refuse delete.html file. So we're going to look for instructor refuse delete. And again, I can copy that from my already coded version. Okay, so I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it in. Let's do that right here. Here's my paste. It's called instructor refuse delete. And make it a little bigger. So the titling is error deleting instructor. Okay. And then it doesn't have a form. It just has text with some links. So it says you may not delete instructor and then the instructor name. This instructor is currently assigned to the following sections. So we're not only going to say that you can't delete it, we're going to give you the evidence for that, for why that's true. And in giving you the evidence, we're going to give you the links that you could go to if you needed to unhook the instructors, say, from that section. Okay? Perhaps you would want to go to that section and hook up another instructor to it. That's fine. So, okay, so we say for section, in sections, we're going to go to the section detail page, and we're going to give the name of the section. Okay? The other thing is maybe you don't want to go full with the sections. Maybe you're going to say, oh, that's not the instructor I meant to delete. Yeah, he's teaching such and such. let me look at the instructor list to see the one that I really wanted to delete. Well, that's why we have a link to take you back to the instructor list. Okay, so the workflow here is pretty well thought out. This is a very standard approach to this kind of page. All right, so that's that. Now, what's left? Oh, we still don't have a link to click on to say that we want to delete this instructor. So we want to go to the instructor detail file, and we want to add the delete instructor link to the code. So let's go do that. Didn't want to. Okay. All right. So let's go to instructor detail. We can open it up right here. Make it a little bit bigger. And you'll remember when we did part 2, we added the link here for edit instructor. So we're just going to get a little bit of room here. And I'm going to copy the link out of my already baked version. Okay. And let's go look at that. So what does that link say? Well, it's a link for delete instructor. And how do we get the URL? Well, we take the instructor object and we call get delete URL on the model object, and we get back the URL for the delete. That's what's going to take us to the post. Okay, so we're set here. So is there anything left on our checklist? Testing. Okay, let's make sure that we give this a good, robust test. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to go up to Tools and run manage.py task, and then I'm going to go on to run server. Okay, and this, so I got the link okay. If in fact you have a mistake in your code, you probably, instead of getting the link to click on, you're going to get one or more error messages. Okay, but it looks like we did things right. So let's click on the link. And it brought up my browser on another monitor. Let me pull it over. Okay, so let's look. Let's click on the link for instructors. That'll get us the instructor list. And at this point, I want to test the refusal logic. Okay, I know that I, Kevin Trainer, have a lot of sections I'm teaching. I'm teaching 4 sections. So I know if you say you want to delete me, you should get the refusal page. So let's click on the delete instructor link. And here it is, error deleting instructor. That's beautiful. It says you may not delete instructor trainer Kevin. This instructor is currently assigned to the following sections. Now, let's say that that I really wanted to get rid of Kevin. Okay, and I needed to reassign his work. Well, then I could just go to each of the sections, and I could go to edit sections, and I could hook it up to another instructor if that's what I wanted to do. In this case, I've just, accidentally clicked on the wrong instructor. So what do I want to do? I want to return to the instructor list. Okay. And I'm going to say, oh, it was Mary Keller who's going to be leaving. Okay, let's click on her. Okay. Then we just get back a confirmation page. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't do that the right way. Oh, yeah. I click on her detail page. Now I say I want to delete her. You can see she doesn't have any sections. So we're expecting to get the confirmation page, not the refusal page. And are you sure that you want to delete instructor Keller Mary? Well, let's test the cancel button. Where are we going to go? Well, we went back to her detail page. All right, let's really ask to delete her. So delete, we go to the confirmation page. We click the confirmation button, delete instructor. And when we go back to the list, Mary Keller should be gone. And Mary Keller is gone. So we tested the both cases, both the one where we expected to get a refusal and the one where we expected to just get the confirmation, and they both seem to work as expected. So that's pretty darn good. Okay, I'm going to pause a second. I'll be back to do the cloning for the section model class. Okay, so let's bring back our instructions. Right, okay, so we're moving on to the section model class. And now I'm going to do it the way that you're going to do it because starting here, you're going to be cloning, right? So let's look. So we need the URL pattern for section delete. So let's get that going. So we're going to go to URLs. URLs. Here we go. Make that type a little bigger. Okay. So section update. Well, we did a clone on this the last time. We're just going to clone the update URL pattern into the delete URL pattern. Not a big change. Okay. So we're going to put the text in, delete, and we're going to get the right class-based view name, section delete, and the URL pattern is not going to be section update, it's going to be section delete. So that clones pretty favorably. And then we need to get this section delete name in the imports. And let's go up. Where's all the section stuff? Section detail, section create and section update. And let's put section delete in here. Okay. That looks good. All right. Let's look at our next checklist item. Add the get delete URL method to the model class for a section. Okay, that's pretty clonable too. So let's go to the models. Okay. And sections down towards the bottom of the models. Okay, it's right before registration. Yeah, and we have a get update, and we saw the last time that it'd be pretty easy to clone a get update URL into a get delete URL. So let's do that. Okay, so this is going to be get delete URL. Okay. And the name of the URL pattern is going to be different. But really, that's it. That's cloned. That's pretty nice. All right. So checklist items 1 and 2 are done. Number 3, add the section delete class-based view to views.py. All right, let's try to do a clone on that. Okay, let's go to views.py. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this instructor delete, okay, which I already have, and I'm going to clone it down and turn it into the section delete. Now, I just want to point out this is going to be easily clonable for most of these, right? Okay, so we have that's instructor delete, and that's going to turn into section delete. Okay, so what we're going to have to do here is to make sure that we're working with the proper model class type. Instead of instructor, we're going to be dealing with section. Because for every model class except the last one you'll do, registration, it's appropriate to have both a confirm page and a refusal page. Okay, it's only the last one where you're not going to have to do the refusal. Okay, so let's look at this. So it's not an instructor, it's a section, right? And sections have, what do they have? So sections have courses, I believe. I'm going to cheat and actually take a look at my pre-baked version. I'll be right back. Well, good thing I checked, because my first instinct was wrong. Okay, what depends on a section? Well, a registration does. A registration is for a particular section and student. So we can't have the section it disappearing if it has registrations. Okay, so how are we going to do this? Well, it is a section, but we're interested in its registrations. Okay, so we're going to say that we want to get from this section object, we want to return all of the registrations in a query set. Okay. Okay, now we're going to look at the query set and see if it's empty or not. So if registrations dot count is greater than 0, then I have to refuse. Okay, so let's see what page do I want to point to? Well, not instructor refuse delete. I want to point to section refuse delete. Would you agree? I hope so. Section refuse delete. Okay, and this isn't the object that we're on right now is not an instructor, it's a section, so we have to pass in a section instead, and that's going to be the section object itself. And the collection that we want to give is not sections that we want to list, but we want to list the registrations. Okay, and of course we have the registrations object as well. Okay, so again, we thought our way through this. Yes, you do have to think about what other tables, what other model objects do we have a relationship with? Okay, but the real question is what is pointing to a section? Okay, a section points to a lot of things. It points to a semester. It points to an instructor. It points to a course. Okay, that's okay. You could delete the section and it just wouldn't be pointing at them anymore. But what points to section? Registration points to section. So that's what you have to go check for. Okay, so that's the logic of what you're doing with each of these. Okay, otherwise, here's the else. We just want to send a section confirm delete page. So let's change the name of our page, name of our template page, section confirm delete, and then we're going to have to pass in a section object so we can properly populate that. And we're done. Okay, so that's the get, which is either going to send back a refuse delete page or a confirm delete page, because it's only the very last one that you can do that you'll do, the registration, which it doesn't have a refusal. Okay, on that particular one, what code are you going to be able to leave out? Well, you're going to be able to leave out, I believe, this code right here. Okay, you're still going to have to retrieve the section. You're still going to have to render the page. Okay, you're going to have to do the render for the confirm delete. But you're not going to have to do anything related to the refusal. Okay, because for registrations, because nothing points to registration, there are no tables that have foreign keys that point to the registration table, then we don't have to worry that we're going to ruin the database integrity, and so we don't have the possibility of a refusal page. So this is the code here that you're going to have to that you're going to want to eliminate when you come to registration. Okay, so we've got the get coded. The get object is nearly fine. We're not getting an instructor object, we're getting a section object. That's the only thing we have to change. Okay. When I was doing my testing of my practice version, my pre-baked version, I forgot to change that. And that turned into a problem very quickly. So if you forget to change this code to ask for a section, you're going to get an error pretty quickly when you test. And now let's look at this. The post is going to do the delete. So this is not an instructor instance. It's a section instance. We want to delete the section. Okay, and then we want to redirect to the section list, not the instructor list. And we've cloned the hardest part. Okay, this is the biggest block of custom code that we have in this part of the tutorial. All right, that's done. Let's look at what's next. Create the confirm delete.html file. Okay, so that's our template file. Here's what I usually do. I take the instructor confirm delete and I clone it. So I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to say, no, this one's going to be section confirm delete. Okay. All right, that looks good. And make the type a little bit bigger. And maybe a little bit bigger still. Okay. So delete section. Okay. And then up here, the action is going to be section get delete URL. Okay, method post the anti-hacking token. Okay, we're going to say, are you sure that you want to delete, let's say, section? And then it's the section object. Okay. And then we're going to call for the cancel link, we want to make sure that we go back to the detail page for the section, not the instructor. Okay. And the button just has to say, instead of delete instructor, it's got to say delete section. And I think we've done a pretty good clone job on that page. Okay. Now, if appropriate, not the registration model class, create the section reviews delete page. Well, we need to create it. How we're going to do that? Well, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take the instructor reviews delete and copy it. And we'll paste it here with all the templates. And we're going to call it section reviews delete. Okay. Now this one's going to be a little more thoughtful. Okay. So let's look at this to make sure that we do it right. The easy things are replacing instructor with section. So error deleting section, and then down here error deleting section. Okay. And just say you may not delete section, and then we want to use the section object. This section I'm going to cheat and go back and look at what I said the last time, because I fooled with it for a while, and I thought I came up with some good text. This section currently has the following registered students. Currently has the following. The following registered students. Okay, so one of the sophisticated parts of this is that registrations are an associative entity. They're an associative table. Okay, and they're what connects section and student. Okay, so I think we can talk about registrations, but at this point, I think the common way to speak about this data would be to say that a section has registered students, not that it has registrations. We could say it, but I think it would sound a little bit off in terms of how people would actually talk in the business. So for this, then I'm going to say for registrations, for registration in registrations, that's what we're sending through. We're going to say registration get absolute URL. So if in fact they want to go and unhook a person from this class, let's say that there was just one person there and there was just like, I want to get rid of that. Well, you'd want to go to the registration. But in terms of the name, you would want the name to be not the big name that we give to the registration, because that has information in it about both the section and the student. So that's going to seem very redundant. But what we can do is we can say, for this registration, we want to use the name of the student. Okay, so we're going to get a nice, we're going to get a list of students who have registrations. And if we click on the link, we are going to go to the registration and not all the way over to the student. But this, although it's not completely parallel to the other things that we've done, I think this is the sophisticated approach. Okay, and if we want to kind of cancel, if we just want to go back to the list, then we're going to want to go back to the section list, which is kind of like I cancel, but section list. That looks pretty good. All right, so we'll talk through that when we're testing, and I think you'll agree that it's going to read well. Okay. All right. So what's left in terms of our checklist? Well, we don't have we haven't added the link in section detail.html. Okay, let's look at that. So let's look at section detail.html, the template file. All right. And you'll see that we do have a link for edit section, but not for delete. Okay. So let's do this. It's as long as you're cloning these, it's just as easy to clone the edit that you already have to create the delete. Okay, so we wouldn't be getting update URL, we'd be getting delete URL. Okay, and we wouldn't be doing, we wouldn't be calling the link edit section, we'd be calling it delete section. It's really that easy. Okay, so those are pretty easy to clone just off of the link that's already there. Okay. Well, that takes care of that. I think we're ready to test. Let's look. Yeah, we changed the detail.html file. Nothing left but number 7, test. Okay, and now if in fact we haven't made any serious errors, well, the browser's just going to come up when we click the link. Very good. If we have made some serious errors, well, we're probably going to see them down in this manage.py console. We're probably going to see the errors instead of the link. Another thing that I've had happen is I've introduced errors, okay, and yet I don't see the error messages down here in the manage.py console. And yet, when I click on the link, it tells me I can't connect to the server. So what do I do when that happens? Well, here's what I do. I usually stop the server, Okay, and then I type in run server to start the server again. And if in fact the code has problems, instead of getting the link like we do here, you'll get the error messages. So sometimes they don't automatically appear on the manage.py console. And so if you're clicking through and it says it can't connect, you want to stop the server and try to restart it. And then you're going to get a detailed list of the errors that you have in your code. And of course, you fix them and you start the server again, and you're right back here. Okay, well, because the section list is the default page, let's go to 340.001 in the current semester. So we go there, and we see it's got 2 registrations. Okay, and you may say to me, well, why didn't I say students here? And the fact is, I might change that to students at a certain point, okay? I realize that's a little bit of an inconsistency with the refusal page, but I can live with that for now, okay? So this should get a refusal. If we say delete, we should get a refusal page. Delete, error deleting section, okay? And it says this section currently has the following registered students: Mary Scholar, Franny Stagliano. Now, if you click on them, you notice you're going to the registration, okay? Because this has both the section and the student. Okay, so if you wanted to unhook the student, you could do it there. Now, we don't have a delete to get rid of the registration yet because that's the last one you're going to implement. But by the time you implement that, if we're here and we go, oh, I'm just going to delete the registrations, you could click on one and do the delete, and then you could come back and you could click on the other and you could do the delete. And if in fact, and then if you wanted to delete the section, you would be able to do it. Okay, but for right now, we're going to say, okay, that's something that we want. Now, I'm just going to create a new section that has no students in it. So I'm going to create section 999 in the fall of 2018. That's the current semester right now. Let's do XML for libraries, and let's have the instructor be me, because I need a lot of work. Click on Create Section. Okay, so here's the section. Okay, so let's go to Section List, and here it is. So 780,999. Click on that. Let's say we want to delete it. Okay, gives me a confirmation page. Do I want to delete it? Yes, I do. Now, if I cancel, you're going to want to test that too, right? If you cancel, you should go back to the detail page, which is where you should go. And then the delete, well, we delete. Then we go back to the section list, and it's not there. So that is it. It's that easy. I think where it gets complicated is when you come down to test and you can't connect to the server, or the server has errors. You have to go back and see. One kind of classic thing that's happened to me is I've accidentally done everything but the class-based view. I don't know, that's the most amount of work, so it's probably easiest for me to avoid. So you go back and you fix the things, and then they should work. So as a group now, we've done the instructor and the section. So to finish part 3 of your assignment, you're going to need to do on your own the course, the semester, the student, the registration. And remember, when you get to registration, you are not going to be having a refusal. Okay? Because deleting a registration will not break referential integrity in the database. So the only question is, do you really mean it? So there will be a confirmation page, but there won't be a refusal page. All right, that's it. Good luck with it, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.